Hey yo guys, this is Jared aka the Saint of Sins on Xbox Live, bringing some more NBA Jam on Fire Edition online arena gameplay. Here I'm going to be playing as the Oklahoma City Thunder against my opponent's Houston Rockets. Now I'm not sure if in my previous online arena games I've made it clear which teams I'm in control of, but from now on I'm going to make it very clear just to avoid future comments where someone points out that I got rocked by Melo when I was the one rocking with Melo. Yeah, let's just try to avoid that sort of confusion. Anyway, after my previous NFL Blitz video, I figured let's jump back into some more NBA Jam and hope that I can continue my winning ways here. Because Lord knows this has been the only line of success I've had on this channel thus far. So with that out of the way, let me just start off by apologizing for the way I sound. I'm not as enthusiastic or energetic right now because, well, I had a bit to drink last night on April 1st while watching Wrestlemania 28, and let's just say, not enough booze! The final tally on the night was 3 Sam Adams and I think 6 glasses of Jack and Coke. And that was just not enough, unfortunately, because I damn near lost my fucking mind trying to suffer through that pay-per-view. I guess my first mistake of the night was being a cheapskate and picking up this mixture brand of Jack Daniels that was already diluted with Coke. It smelled strong, but unfortunately it didn't taste strong. So instead of getting completely plastered or at least hammered out of my mind in order to try and enjoy the silliness of this wrestling event, I ended up suffering through it almost completely sober. Yeah, all that booze and I didn't even get a buzz. What the fuck? So looking back on it, I don't know which was the bigger disappointment, the show itself or the fact that the thing I needed in order to help me get through the show failed me miserably. I'll leave you to decide. Thankfully though, I didn't suffer through this traumatic event alone. I did have my brother and my good friend Big Guy there in order to catch me in my irate rantings about this fucking show. Highlight of the night, you need look no further than after the World Heavyweight title match, in which the good people at the WWE decide now is the time they have to dedicate to the real talent of the show, Team Laurinaitis, as they prepare for their quote-unquote big match for the night against Team Teddy. It's at this point that I'm already going off on this company, on its treatment of its talents, on its priorities of individuals over others, just the whole 9 yards. I'm even running down the entire list of everyone on Team Laurinaitis and explaining why they're a useless bag of shit and have no fucking purpose being on this card, with the exception of fucking Mark Henry. But that's a whole different rant for a different time. But anyway, in the middle of tearing down the uselessness of David fucking Otunga, all of a sudden, out of the left side of the screen comes Johnny Ace himself, and in the middle of just talking all this ugly shit about Otunga, I had to stop myself and immediately comment, no, this motherfucker is not wearing a white suit. And no sooner did those words leave my lips that the entire mood of the room changed. We went from almost feeling as though we had secretly signed a suicide pact for the end of the night, did it burst into absolute joy and laughter over the absurdity of what we were just watching, which was the reincarnation of Brother Love. I think if it weren't for that moment, we probably wouldn't have ended up enjoying ourselves as much as we did by the end of the night, if only for the fact that we kind of enjoyed making fun of everything that we had witnessed. If you followed me on my previous channel, then you already know that I could pretty much go on for hours ranting about what I didn't like about this show and pretty much explain every minute detail and flaw I saw with it. But I'm going to spare you that just this once. So consider this the Reader's Digest version of my opinions. So let's quickly run through this shit list, shall we? My suffering began with the World Tag Team Championship match in the pre-show. The less said about that, the better. Following that, the WWE then gave me cause and reason to go down to Stanford and use their headquarters as the starting point for a bonfire. My only regret was that after the Royal Rumble, I wasn't bold in my assertion in claiming that this match wouldn't last more than 5 fucking minutes. Don't ever doubt your prophet Messiah ever the fuck again. Anyway, following that came the Randy Orton and Kane match, which I thought was such a snooze fest that I honestly don't even remember what the fuck happened during the middle of this match. Following that slosh was the Big Show and Cody Rhodes Intercontinental Championship match, which I felt was gratuitously unnecessary, but whatever. I guess they really felt bad that they fucked over Big Show after finally getting him over with the crowd in WrestleMania 24. Then came the bathroom break in the women's tag team match, followed up by the highly underwhelming Undertaker and Triple H Hell in a Cell match. In all honesty, I have no earthly idea why this match is so highly praised, considering it was so dependent upon building Shawn Michaels' character and making such a big point about his involvement in the match, only for it to have almost no impact on the finish. But whatever, let's just move on. Then it was Team Johnny versus Team Teddy. I have no idea why. If Triple H actually hates Johnny Ace, why Johnny Ace is so vital and so crucial to the overall story. Whatever. Ugh. Then was Punk and Jericho's WWE Championship match, which, granted, ended fine, but the build and what led into the stipulation change at the start of the match, WWE just has this really bad habit of just copy-pasting a successful formula and then driving it into the fucking ground. That's all I'm going to say for now. And finally, The Rock versus Cena in quite possibly the most underwhelming match these two personalities could have ever had with one another. Suffice it to say, all this match reminded me of was Angle Joe 1. And if you know what that means, you might get what I'm trying to say here. There. Now let's talk about something else. Something a bit more pleasant, shall we? After all, I feel as though all I do with these NBA Jam videos is just bitch. So for starters, let me just get this bit out of the way. The main reason I wanted to use this gameplay footage for this video in particular was I wanted to get out a big thank you to CDude9590 for pretty much everything he's done for me over the past, I'd say, what, 5 years, maybe, give or take. He's been extremely generous with his attempts to try and get me back into Ring of Honor by allowing me to log into his account to watch the iPay-per-views, as well as giving me the suggestion that if I wanted to get into basketball, the team I might actually find any interest in would be the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think I'm going to take them up on that starting next season. Now, beyond Michael Beasley and Kevin Love, I know absolutely nothing about this organization. So that's why I'm kind of giving myself about a good 8 months, I think, to really educate myself about this franchise and what they have in store for the future. I think it's safe to say the future might be interesting. Wow. Disturbing imagery aside, I think I'm going to be a bit torn in my investment here, to be honest, because I've kind of fallen in love with playing with the Atlanta Hawks, both in NBA Jam as well as NBA 2K11, as well as kind of fallen in love with Monta Ellis, who used to be of the Golden State Warriors, but is now apparently part of the Milwaukee Bucks. And that team also looks somewhat interesting, if only for the fact that they've got a lot of youth. And the reason I even know of Monta Ellis and actually like him is because when I was playing my player in 2K11, I actually ended up on the Golden State Warriors and just fell in love with his style of play. And actually saw some highlights and loved what I saw out of it. So I guess what I'm really saying is that I'm very easily impressed. But yeah, come this time next year, I should be better versed in the NBA and its ongoings, and actually be rooting for a team. But that's then. Let's get to the now. And right now, I'm kind of holding my own here with a decent enough lead over the Rockets, as my opponent is still trying to close the gap. Coming out of the half, I wasn't sure if taking out Russell Westbrook for Serge Ibaka was going to be the best move on my part, but so far it's been paying off with great dividend, as now I have a lot more power and blocking ability, which adds a lot more depth to my gameplay so far. After all I sacrificed was speed. I still have the same scoring capability I did when I had Westbrook on the court, simply because, well, Durant's got durability to score from pretty much anywhere on the court, and Ibaka has been able to just drive in the paint and score at will, either because my opponent hasn't positioned himself properly in the paint, or just leaves me wide open because of poor defense. And right now, all I have to do is cruise on for the next 2 minutes and hold on to this 13-point lead to secure another victory. That should mean not taking dumb 3-point shots when I have a big enough lead as it is, but instead, for whatever reason, I decide I'm still going to try and put the dagger in a game that's already got the dagger in it. But hey, with the added benefit of Ibaka on the court being in position to grab those big offensive rebounds, I don't really have too much to worry about, because it's a win-win. A missed shot and an offensive rebound means more time burnt off the clock, and the lead stays intact. And with that Kevin Durant dunk, I think this one's safely in the bag. We have too big a lead with not enough time in favor of my opponent to actually catch up and bring this one to overtime. After all, I was able to carve up my opponent's defense all game long, and with this, all I have to do is hold on to the ball for any significant amount of time, and I've pretty much secured that I've got this victory. With only 35 seconds left on the clock, I doubt my opponent is going to be able to score 14 unanswered points in this time frame. So I'm going to wrap this up as being a victory in the books in my favor, and just say that the next step now is to try and find our first victory in any other game other than NBA Jam on Fire Edition now, because it's getting a little embarrassing as well as frustrating. So I'll see you next time, in which I'm probably going to be posting up my predictions for the opening day game in Miami, which should feature Kyle Loesch of the St. Louis Cardinals and Josh Johnson of the Miami Marlins. Until then, later guys.